The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
All rise. The court is in session. Honorable Judge Peter presiding.
You may be seated. All right, this is DC 24-847, State of Montana versus Mr. Abbey. And let the record reflect that Mr. Kaczynski, Mr. Nesbitt, and Ms. Foley are present representing the state, and Ms. Kottke and Mr. Zavotsky are present representing Mr. Abbey, and Mr. Abbey is personally present. This is a time, place, of course, set for a sentencing hearing. The court's received a pre-sentence investigation report. I saw in the sentencing memorandum that I don't think there was any issues with that. Is that correct? I mean, other than there was an issue about him speaking to the PO.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, was there anything else?
No. Your Honor, would the court be interested in hearing objections to any of the PSI conditions at this time or at a different time?
I'll deal with that later.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Mr. Kaczynski, anything you saw there that you wanted to correct?
No, Your Honor, only that we had two late victim impact statements that are being submitted without objection. They were just submitted to the court this morning with Matthew Kepschel and Kenzie Creighton.
Okay.
We'd ask that those be part of the PSI, Your Honor.
All right. Does clerk have a copy of them, or should I give her these?
I can give the clerk a separate copy, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sure. Anything else?
At this time?
Okay. So any witnesses for the state?
Yes, Your Honor. The state has approximately 8 witnesses, Your Honor,
Okay.
That would like to give a statement. We also asked the court leave to have Ms. Foley here with us in court. She's no longer with the Gallatin County Attorney's Office, but the defense does not object, Your Honor.
Okay, that's fine with me. So if you want to go ahead and call your first witness, feel free.
Thank you. The state calls Janet Wire to the stand.
All right, so ma'am, if you just come up to the podium and then raise your right hand and the clerk will give you an oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please take the witness standing when you're there and spell your name.
Is it okay if they just use the podium here to give a statement, or would you rather take the witness seat?
Josie, you got a preference?
I would ask that they take. I will be. I'd ask that they take the witness.
Okay.
So ma'am, just when you are able, just state and spell your name for the record, okay?
Janet Wire, JANETWEYER.
Ms. Wire, do you have any Kleenex in front of you?
Yeah.
Could you tell the court what your relationship is to Dustin?
I'm his mother.
And it's my understanding that you wanted to read a statement today for the court.
Yes.
I would ask that you go ahead and read that statement, but please take all the time you need, and nobody's in a rush here, okay?
Okay. I would like to tell you about my son, Dustin. Dustin was a wonderful person. He loved helping others, which would make anyone happy. I would like to say that was all me, but it wasn't. It was his sister, Jillian. Well, things were not ideal at home. That is when Jillian stepped in and had Dustin come live with her. And that is where he thrived. For one thing, going to school in Bozeman, you have so many more opportunities than Three Forks. And living with his sister, he helped with raising his niece, who he loved very much. Over the years, they developed a bond that could not be broken. To say they were close was an understatement. Right now, my daughter's heart is breaking. It's beyond broken, and I don't know how to help her. I do know that losing a child has to be the worst pain you can ever experience. I have 3 daughters who now have to go through life without their brother. There's a little girl who has to grow up without her dad, who she loved very much. This man has destroyed a family, and I hope he has to sit there every day for the rest of his life and think about what he did to mine.
Well, thank you, Ms. Wire. Do you have anything else you'd like to say to the court?
No?
Do you understand what the state's recommendation is going to be, that he not be allowed to ever get out of prison?
Yes.
And do you agree with that recommendation?
Yes.
Ms. Wire, the statement that you just read, is it verbatim with what's on the piece of paper there?
Yes.
And would it be okay if we gave that to the court reporter so she can see exactly what you said and put it in the record?
Sure.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Unless you have anything else to say, Ms. Wire, I have no further questions. Defense counsel may, though.
Any questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, the state would call Kinsey Creighton.
All right. All right, so ma'am, it's just the same thing. Come up to the podium and raise your right hand, and the clerk will give you an oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I absolutely do.
Please stand and spell your name when you use your witness.
Okay. My name is first name is Kinsey, last name Crayton.
Ms. Creighton, did you attend the trial in this case?
I did,
Every day of it?
every day.
And how is it that you know Dustin?
So I know him because he's my partner, the man that I love the most in this world. He was his best friend that he grew up with his entire life.
And you knew him pretty well then?
I did. He lived with us. He actually lived, but there's 2 apartments in my house. He lived underneath us.
And how long did you know Dustin for?
So, I only knew him for about 4 years, personally.
And what is your partner's name?
My partner's name is Matthew Kjersem.
And he testified in this case, is that
He
right?
did.
Okay. I understand that you'd like to make a statement today.
Yes, I would.
Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. I first would just like to share a story about Dustin that really, I think, captures his character. When Matthew and I first, we got together, I was pregnant. I had a daughter, Dahlia, and I was a new mom. I was, the first few months of postpartum, I was stressed. While there's lots of people that love me in the world, no one around really put the time in. I didn't have anybody that was really helping. And every time that Dustin came over, even though I didn't know him, he was the only one that got out the coloring books, sat there with Dahlia. He would give me a wave. I would say, is it okay if and he would give me the wave and say, no, don't worry about it. Go take a shower. Go take a rest. I will be on the floor, literally putting in the time, coloring with Dahlia the entire time. It was something that touched my heart in a way that no other human ever did. And I also just want to say that, I know that you probably have never felt anyone like that. I know that you have not felt anyone like that. And I really am sorry for that. That is a tragedy. It is a tragedy. It is. It really is. I know that. And that is a tragedy. And I just want to tell you that while you may have never felt that, you have changed the course of my entire family. And I don't say this lightly, I really don't. But I really pray that you know what that feels like and know what that loss feels like. And I don't say that lightly. I really don't say that lightly. But this is something that is going to be entrenched into our lives forever. I have a toddler. I have a little tiny sweet human growing, and she knows about death. She says we're dead because she knows that someone is there that loved her and is not there anymore. How am I to explain that to a toddler? And I know you might not care. I know you might not get it, but I really do hope. I really do hope. I hope that you are going to have the rest of your days lived out. You will. And I really do hope that you find a way to make a difference in those lives, to maybe stop something like this happening in another family. I really, really do. Because the cycle of pain to keep on going and going is unnecessary. It's not necessary. And I really hope that you find a way to stop it. In those walls, stop it. There's a lot of pain there. Stop it. You know, the man that I love is forever changed. He's forever changed. He can't even get up and speak today. He's so hurt. Please.
Ms. Creighton, you talked about your daughter, Dahlia, a moment ago.
Dahlia.
Dahlia, how Dustin would play with her when she was really young. And you indicated that you were here during the trial itself. And were you here when Ms. Price testified? And do you remember her testifying earlier in life when Dustin first came to her home?
Yeah.
And do you remember what she said about Dustin's interaction with her daughter?
Well, first I know that he went to every single doctor's appointment with her. He wasn't even there after she was there. He was there before. He went to every single doctor's appointment with her. And he was there. He helped raise her. He was so good with kids. I can't even tell you how much of a blessing he was with the kids. And that's gone. It's just gone now.
You indicated that Matt's unable to testify today?
Yes.
Was it a hard decision for him to make?
Yeah, it's a hard decision for him to make. It's been hard every single day since this has happened. He can barely go on. It's everything is hard, yes, since now. And yes, it's been a very hard decision, but I think that the root of it was he didn't know if you would even care. What's the point? What's the point if you don't care?
But he did provide a statement to the court this morning.
Yes, he
that
did.
the court will consider.
Yes.
You know, I know you're aware that the judge is the one that sentences an individual in our criminal justice system, but
Yes.
and the judge is going to consider numerous factors based on Montana code. But what would you like to see happen?
I mean, I think the only responsible thing is that he's locked up forever. I think that's the only responsible thing. I don't think that you're capable outside those walls. I really don't.
Ms. Creighton, unless you have anything else to say, I don't have any further questions.
That's everything I have. Thank you.
All right, anything from the defense?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Chris? With the court's permission, the state calls Chris Anderson.
All right. All right, sir, just raise your right hand and the clerk will give you an oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state and spell your name when you swear this name.
Here or up there?
Up there.
My full name is Christopher Anderson, ChristopherAnderson.
And proceed, Your Honor. Mr. Anderson, how is it that you knew Dustin?
Dustin was probably my most trusted friend. I'd say there was a point where we were probably best friends, but that might be the way to describe his relationship and what he meant to me the best.
And how long did you know him for?
He might have actually been the first person that I met when we moved to Three Forks. I probably knew him for 23 years, maybe. I mean,
Chris, am I correct in that you took some time off work to watch the trial?
every day that I could, I was here, I'd say 90%.
Okay. Do you have a statement to make?
Yes, I do. I'd like to read the statement, and I'd also like to just say something about Dustin candidly afterwards.
Okay, please go ahead with your statement.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Chris Anderson. I've lived and worked here in Gallatin County for over 20 years, and I currently live in Big Sky area where I run a small family business. I'd like to take a moment to thank the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office, the county and state attorneys, the court, and all their efforts, and for our time here today. I'd also like to take a moment to preface my statement, again stating that I have the utmost respect for the rule of law, law enforcement personnel, the decision of the court, and the judicial system itself, and that my intent in this statement is to make the most logical and rational argument for the maximum possible sentencing against the convicted in this case. I've personally testified and helped lock up a criminal sexual offender of a minor back when I was 18 years old here in Gallatin County, and I still choose to follow him on Conweb and other ways to ensure that I know and can be assured that he's still behind bars and not getting out. Now, I'm proud of that, of doing what I know was obviously right. Quite honestly, I hate it too. The responsibility of it still weighs on me, on all of us involved, knowing that creep should stay behind bars and I should have a responsibility, and that I still have a responsibility to the community and to law and order to make sure of that and to remind people of that. This becomes such a labor for us in the community when we really need to count on the system of justice to carry out a just sentence. We're all holding so much hate, anger, and pain in our hearts. It's an unnatural state for a human. In fact, knowing all of us who cared for Dustin and loved him so much, it's not in our nature to feel this way. I think of Dustin, I feel his loss, and then I think of Jill and Jaden and Natalie and how much they're hurting and missing him, and how Addie is missing him and will miss him in her future. I think of all the responsibilities they share, the feelings, the pain, and there's not much we can do but take it and find some peace in each other's company and our thoughts of Dustin. We all have had the what ifs and the what we did wrong moments when we think we could have somehow still made a difference or made different choices and had him in our lives. But it's not our choices that we should reconsider or recant. It's not the choices Dustin made for us to reconsider either, as he did what was honorable by offering hospitality, shelter, food, and food to a person in need. It's the choices of a convicted murderer. It's the choices that were made that we all need to take into consideration. In any trial, only certain aspects of evidence or statements can be admitted that pertain to the charges of the convicted. In any trial, only certain aspects of evidence or statements can be admitted that pertain to the charges of the case, but as a community member of the area, I've been privy to general conversations about the convicted and his actions prior to the attack that may be considered hearsay, but reaffirm the fact that you cannot have this man re-enter society under any circumstances, certainly not here in Montana and not in any other state. It's my belief that if more information could be admitted or considered in trial about his character, whereabouts, and state of mind prior to the ambush of my friend, we would have a clear understanding of the motive, rejection. Unfortunately, I must also bring to light that the convicted was well known in the community to drink and be frequenting bars in areas where he was actively violating his probation. What was not known in the community was his background and what we all know, what he's now capable of. And I do hold accountable whatever system of parole or probation that was responsible for him to a degree. It is for this reason that he can never have this opportunity to be on probation or parole ever again. Giving him an opportunity to be paroled puts the public at risk now, 20, 40, 60 years from now. It's been rather uncomfortable hearing the convicted killer telling stories of how he was just hanging out in bars after he took my friend's life, not to mention all his gear, and he danced on his grave. It seems to me that you all, and I'm excuse me for saying this, but you all had him once, you had him twice, you had him too many times, so you have to do a better job and lock him up for good. My apologies if these words may seem like a slight, but my argument must make an impact. It's all that I can do. This concludes my statement, and I thank the court and the parties for my time, and I want to say something about Dustin. He was my most trusted friend. He had the staunch moral compass. He was good in character. He was fun to be around. A light that we all loved has been taken from us. He was amazing with kids. Never got a chance to meet my child, but I got to share pictures with him, and he goes, "Hey, cute kid," and there was a lot more to it than that. And I wish I could share everything about him that I came to know and love with you all, but just to know that it's not there. It's just the worst thing that I could ever imagine happening in my life. And I don't want to keep going through and having 20 years. Oh, I got to check up on this guy now. Not only do I have to check up on a child molester that I put away, now I got to check up on this guy. So that concludes my statement, and I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I don't have any questions. The defense may ask, Mr. Anderson, the defense may have some questions.
No questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
With the court's permission, the state calls Jake Noble.
All right, so sir, if you just come up to the podium and raise your right hand, and the clerk will give you an oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state and spell your name and you can witness stand.
My name is Jacob Noble, Jacobnoble. I first met Dustin when he was about 6 years old. I started hanging out with Jill, and he was always there. It was almost annoying. You couldn't do anything without Dustin being right there. And then you grow to love the kid. He was the closest thing to a little brother that I had ever had. I grew up as an only child. He had nothing but sisters, so obviously we got along quite well. When Jill moved into my wife and my house, he would come over on the weekends for craft Sundays, and they would just do all kinds of crafty stuff. And when he had enough of that, we'd go out and we'd go skateboarding. We would just hang out. It was great to be around. After she got legal guardianship of him, I remember I was in Jackson, Wyoming on a ski trip when I got the phone call that Dustin was moving in. And I was like, right on. Hope we can find a bed for him. We had quite a few people in the house at the time, but yeah, he moved right in and worked right into the whole family dynamic that we had going on there. He was great to be around. The last time that I actually spoke to him, he called on the day that my daughter was born. Just out of the blue, he had no idea. Just calls up, "Hey man, how's it going?" And that was the way he was. And that has been taken from us. We're never going to hear that. We're never going to hear, "Hey man, how's it going?" We're never going to go skateboarding, snowboarding, fly fishing. All of that's gone because one man's actions. And it rips our guts out. I'm speaking for my wife and myself right now. And I personally think that we get to spend every single day missing Dustin and not having that and not having the light that he brought into our lives. I think that Mr. Abbey should spend every day with no hope of ever breathing free air again.
Mr. Noble, do you have anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, the defense may have some questions.
We do not, Your Honor. No questions.
All right, thanks, sir.
With the court's permission, the state calls Jordan Lance.
All right. So, sir, I think you know what to do, okay? Just
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please state and spell your name and use your name.
Jordan Lance, Jordanlance.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Sure.
Mr. Lance, how do you know Dustin?
He was my best friend since the 5th grade.
And you were here throughout most of the trial, am I right?
Yes.
And you took work off to be here at the trial?
I didn't have class scheduled today at school.
Okay. Did you prepare a statement or did you want to give a
did.
statement? Please begin when you're ready.
To Honorable Judge Peter Oman. Dustin was everything and anything that Daren Abbey cannot and will not ever be. I've called Dustin my best friend since the 5th grade. I met him the day I transferred schools. He was the first kid out of about 50 classmates to introduce himself to me, welcome me, and show me around the neighborhood. I'd come from a school where I had no friends, so it meant a lot. To be honest, I still don't know why he picked me to spear over a handrail as the bell rang and the door flew open for recess. It was standard for small town 90s kids, hopped up on Surge Soda and WWE wrestling moves, sure. But this was my 4th tenure as the new kid. Sometimes a teacher may volunteer or voluntold another student show you around, but never. So I'm just angry.
Take your time, sir.
Mr. Lance, I remember your letter. It was tough for me to read too. So go ahead.
Whenever I had another kid stepped out of serious elementary social circles to take someone under their wing, I was Dustin, to a fault. Certainly Abby knows this. Dustin fed and watered the garbage, or at least welcomed him into his camp, likely with a smile, a wave, and some jokes, like any Montanan would have done. I didn't know how to laugh at things before I met Dustin. Myself, others' life, and especially the kind of life that all there is to do is laugh at it. At least you end up useless, sitting in a courtroom on trial for murder, because you've always and will only ever prioritize yourself before others. I knew isolation, and I knew how to behave like Sid from the movie Toy Story when I was a kid, before I met Dustin. blowing things up in my backyard with stolen gunpowder. I wouldn't say I completely lacked a moral compass, but the maladaptive behaviors I chose to deal with childhood trauma certainly existed within the realm of psychoses and not that of mental health. I was already antisocial and well-versed in my defensive facade of being the angry kid that I hoped nobody would mess with. I mostly just knew how to hide or fight. Torment from older kids or bullies at any school was chump change in contrast to the corporal punishment I'd known at home. So when Dustin speared me over the handrail, I knew he was just wrestling as an icebreaker. He had also suffered as a kid. The cards just aren't dealt the same for everyone. And that's okay. I think that's what he taught me, that it was okay to be discarded, neglected, abused, to be led astray. It's okay to be the outcast or the poor kid. As long as you treat people the way you want to be treated, shit'll buff out. Excuse my language, Your Honor. People will survive. Dustin and my respective brands of childhood austerity were slightly different. But he was already adjusted and taking it upon himself to help others. He was smart and witty, friendly, kind, humble, and always had something funny to say. He never spoke too much and too little, but just enough to add a little decency into this world. Dustin had already suffered enough, and he sure wasn't living his life to spread any more hate nor discontent. Again, all things that Abby has and never will be, nor do. Dustin took accountability for himself. He even took accountability for a kid that wasn't his. Raising his daughter's older half-brother, who did not have a father figure around, years after he had already left Addie's mother. He continued taking her brother when he had Abby so that the kid wouldn't end up misled and useless. That takes a special kind of accountability, born of the universal understanding that man is not inherently evil, but that he sure can be nurtured toward it. However universal, we all know right from wrong, whether we play stupid or not. These understandings I learned as a kid from Dustin, who I owe most credit to for any evolution of my moral compass. Before my own daughter, the same age as Addie, and best friends to Dustin's daughter, Addie. This is too much violence for them at such a young age. They can't even comprehend it. I can. I cannot speak for every Montanan. However, for everyone I do know, they would all agree that when you see a mangy coyote getting into something that it best ought not be getting into, you don't bother wasting any time calling the game warden. I understand to the best of my ability that courts cannot swing medieval sentences at humanity's filth every time one of these Darwinian anomalies rears its grotesque face to show us how special it thinks it is. Humanity has yet to rectify theology, to criminal rehabilitation, to whatever else I'm missing. That finds us in this respectable paradigm of procedural justice. No more trials by combat, duels, or short rope hangings. Buried with your boots on, face down. That's okay, but the double life sentence is likely in order, without the chance of parole, if manageable. To Abby, it behooves you and your health to stay and remain for life incarcerated.
Mr. Lance, anything else?
No.
Okay, I appreciate your statement today. Defense may have some questions.
We do not, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, the state called Jamie Bauer.
So just come up to the podium, raise your right hand.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please spell your name when you get to the next one.
Jaden Bauer, Jadynbauer.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Ms. Bauer, how is it that you knew Dustin?
He is my mother, Jillian Price's brother. He's my uncle.
Were you the girl that he was playing with that Jill spoke of?
Yes.
How old were you when he came into your house?
He's been there from the beginning. He was 14 when I was born, so.
Okay.
And he's just always been a part of the home.
Okay. And do you have a statement?
I do.
And whenever you're ready, please go ahead and read it.
Dustin has been with me from the beginning. Of course, I never called him Dustin. To me, he was always my Uncle Yo-Yo. Most of the stories you heard of Dustin from those close to him describe him as a younger brother figure in their life. But for me, he felt more like a big brother. I know now I took this relationship for granted. And one of my greatest pains is that we will never have that again. He was the one who taught me how to tie my shoes, took me to the river, shared tea parties, helped me draw, taught me how to drive, got me my first job. He did about everything and anything. Although these memories have now become some of my most cherished, they also act as a reminder of what can't be. He won't be at my graduation. He won't be at my wedding. He can't meet my children, and he won't be able to see the person he helped me become. Thinking back at these moments we shared, it became clear he was always destined to be a great father. I was so excited when I found out he was going to have a little girl of his own. I remember when I went with him to the ultrasound appointment, and the first time I got to meet Adeline. From the moment she was born, Dustin was in awe of Addie, and I'm ever so thankful for her now, as her presence is the most positive memory of Dustin throughout this dark time. But when I think about her, I'm also filled with guilt. I've had the opportunity to spend an entire childhood with Dustin, which was tragically taken from her. I wished every day that we could switch places so that she could just have a little bit more time with her father. When Dustin passed, my life had to be put on hold. School became my last thought, so instead of attending class, I stayed home with my mother. I joined her when she gave her plea to the public, when she went to the funeral home, and we went to Dustin's apartment to help move and take care of his things. This break in schooling was absolutely necessary. Having to attend lectures and interact with my peers normally, all while grappling with the tragic loss of my uncle, was impossible. Because of this break, I'm at least a full year behind in schooling, and I continue to struggle every day. I have many absences due to court dates, attending therapy, and my own mental health. And on top of that, I've had to walk out of countless lectures and conversations because certain subject matters just brought me right back here, and I couldn't bear listening to them. I've had to send countless emails and many conversations having to describe this situation, which again brings forth all the trauma and this intense grief. Socially, I've noticed a drawing back from those around me. I constantly feel a weight on my chest and have immense feelings of pain, confusion, and grief, and intense isolation. And what makes these relationships difficult for me is my new perspective on people. I have the unfortunate knowledge of knowing what monsters are capable of, and how it feels to lose someone in the most painful way possible. And it's hard to look at humanity the same way. Besides my own suffering, having to witness the effect this crime has had on our friends and family has been extremely painful, especially for my mother. She has been the one to shoulder this tragedy. Not only has she had to experience her own heartbreak, but she has been working tirelessly to make sure Dustin gets the acknowledgement, remembrance, and justice he deserves. Just like how she provided him a loving environment when she was a child, she has continued to be the one who steps up for Dustin. But this responsibility has taken its toll, and I can't describe how much it hurts to see my mom experience this kind of loss and suffering. It seems I can never find the right words or offer any kind of advice. But how could you comfort someone who's lost everything? Seeing the person who was taking care of everyone
her whole life. He loved so much, bear this kind of weight. This pain is indescribable. Based on all this, I believe that Daren Abbey should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. I am just one story, and as seen in this courtroom, there are many that had the privilege to love Dustin. And all those who cared for him will have to live with the images, the trauma, and the stories, and the overwhelming loss. But importantly, Abby, who has a history of violence and no regard for human life, gets to continue on, while Dustin's life gets cut short.
Ms. Bauer, how old are you?
How old am I? I'm 22.
Okay. And how old were you when Dustin passed?
I was 21. So it was about a year ago.
And then how old is Addie now?
She's 9.
Okay.
11, sorry.
11. She's a young girl, though,
Yes.
right?
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I appreciate your words. I don't have any questions, but defense may, okay?
Okay.
Any questions?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, the state would call Natalie Holloway.
All right. So, ma'am, if you just come up to the podium and raise your right hand.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your name and your name, sir.
My name is Natalie Holloway, NATALIEHOLLOWAY. I'm here today to speak for Dustin, a man whose voice was stolen by Daren Abbey, and to speak to the impact his loss has had on my life. Dustin was the sweetest, gentlest soul I've ever known. He loved being goofy, the outdoors, working with his hands. He loved to cook, and he loved to love. He was calm in a way that felt rare in this world. Nothing rattled him, nothing made him angry. He was sensitive, thoughtful, caring. He worked hard and took pride in making everything he touched better than he found it. Both Dustin and I came from difficult childhoods, and I was still recovering from an abusive marriage when I met him. He knew what pain looked like, and he knew how to be my calm. When we were together, everything else stopped. The anxiety, the worry, the fear I carried for so many years. And Dustin was my peace in a world that had never been kind to me. He brought back a spark I hadn't felt in decades. He supported me through some of the hardest moments, including when my son spent weeks in the hospital. We were building a future together, a future filled with healing, partnership, and simple happiness we had both been denied for so long. But our time together was cut brutally short by his murder. The day he didn't show up to take me camping, I knew in my gut something was terribly wrong. But I never could have imagined the horror he endured or the fact that a living monster took him from me. Seeing firsthand what happened to him was my undoing. My heart was broken. I was broken. My sense of safety evaporated. My world changed in that horrifying moment. I couldn't get out of bed. I was terrified to leave my house. And I cried for weeks while still trying to parent 2 teenagers who were watching their mother fall apart. Hours and hours of trauma counseling because the pain was so immense. I spent the time since his death trying to make sense of a world that could allow something so cruel to happen to someone so gentle. Without Dustin, I would have never known what true love felt like. I would have never learned what it means to be safe with someone. The weeks and months after his death were dark and lonely. I struggled at work, unable to focus. I longed for the comfort I had finally found and lost far too soon. Some days I felt like I was drowning in grief, unable to see any way forward. The pain still hits hard, seemingly out of nowhere some days. The trial forced me to relive everything, the fear, the loss, the moment my world broke. It was the hardest thing I have ever endured. Daren Abbey took the life of a man who loved with his whole heart, a man who was a father, a brother, a friend, and so much more to so many people. Dustin touched countless lives, and none of us will ever be the same. This is something I will carry with me for the rest of my life. Your Honor, the level of violence Daren Abbey is capable of is beyond comprehension. Dustin did not deserve this. No one does. The danger he poses is real, and it is permanent. He should never be free to do this to anyone ever again. Keeping him in prison for the rest of his life is the only option to protect others and to honor the life that he stole.
Anything else, Natalie?
No.
Well, I appreciate you making the statement. I don't think defense has any questions.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
ma'am.
Your Honor, the state has one last witness with the court's permission. The state calls Jillian Price.
Okay. All right, so ma'am, just raise your right hand and the clerk will give you an oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your name and use the witness name.
My name is Jillian Price, Jillianprice.
Ms. Price, so far today we've heard from Jordan and Chris and other people, and then we also heard from Kinsey. And what struck me is that 3 separate people has called him or characterized him as their best friend. Can you tell the judge about that, about how he made people feel so special?
He was always so present when you were with him. I mean, you knew he was listening, he was interested, he loved learning. I mean, his interactions with people were incredibly genuine.
Yeah. And do you have a statement to give?
I do, kind of in 2 parts, so it's kind of...
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. The philosopher Immanuel Kant describes the hands as a visible part of the brain. I think of Dustin's hands often. I can see them so well. Those little fingers that instinctively grab a hold when you were just a baby. Holding his hands while he was learning how to walk. Making sure he always held mine when we crossed the street. Witnessing them grow. Holding our hands up to each other's to see if his had surpassed mine yet. I can picture his fingers clumsily working the strings on his first guitar. And then all of a sudden, his hands moving across the frets as though he'd always known how. Around the same age, he broke his finger skateboarding, the only bone he would ever break in his lifetime. Nearing the end of his 15th year, I got to watch those hands nervously pick up my daughter for the first time. The sound of our hands slapping together when we would do our decades-old ritual of our signature one-handed double high five, the dorkiest of high fives known to man. Watching him tie my fishing lures on for me, then watching him show me again how to tie the proper knot, even though we both knew I was just going to ask him to do it again the next time anyways. His big hands that now made my daughter's teacups look extra small as he held them. Never too cool to not stick his pinky finger out as he attended her almost daily tea parties. The hands that were somehow able to teach my daughter to tie her shoes in just one try, after dozens of failed attempts by me. Countless hours of conversation in my kitchen while his hands gripped a coffee mug or shamelessly shoveled a surprising amount of food in his mouth. That snowy morning in December when I first got to see him hold his precious little baby. These hands are becoming cut and calloused. He worked so hard with these hands, mastering many crafts. As his daughter grew, he became the master of actual crafts. I can't imagine how many items those hands either helped glitter to oblivion or googly eye. I could see her hand in his while we were ice skating at the Southside Park. I should have been able to observe these hands grow old. I can imagine them growing knobby, riddled with arthritis, from what should have been a full life of working and creating with his hands. But I don't get that. Instead, I get to picture his burnt hands in that tent. The hand I didn't get to hold one last time because his body was not fit to be viewed. No kiss on the forehead. I have to picture him struggling to take his last breath, alone in that tent with this monster. I would have given everything I have to send him off with as much love as I received him with. That was my first part, and the second part.
Was that submitted as a victim impact statement?
It was, yes.
Thank you.
Were you in Moose Creek on October the 10th, 2024? This question was asked of me as I sat witness at Dustin's trial. It was a question I would hear over and over again throughout the court proceedings. A question we all knew the answer to. A question that tortures all of us who know and love Dustin. For me, it's daily, even hourly. If I had been there, could I have saved his life? Could I have made a phone call that could have thrown off his trajectory enough that he didn't end up at that campsite? Can I blame myself for always talking to him about kindness and inclusion? Or the darker thoughts? How I wish it was me up there instead of him? How I would trade fates with him in a second so he would get the opportunity to raise his daughter? I was not at Moose Creek on October the 10th, 2024, but I have been there in my head every day since. I know the person that was there, at times, better than he knew himself. Having grown up together the way we did, we knew each other's personalities to the degree of prediction. We knew exactly what the other was feeling with just a look. The person that drove up to Moose Creek that day is such a kind, enthusiastically helpful, funny guy. I'm sure he sang his way up the canyon. I can feel his energy setting up camp. Dustin was in his element, just ecstatic to be able to show Natalie this piece of him. The person Daren describes meeting in Moose Creek is a stranger to those who know Dustin. Dustin historically has found joy in making people laugh, helping anyone who needed a hand. Dustin has no history of violence. In fact, he avoided conflict. He was not aggressive in any way. In closing, the defense said something to the effect of, "We don't know how Dustin would act that intoxicated, but we do." There was a group of people sitting in that courtroom who had seen Dustin in every state and could have attested to his behavior while drinking. They had 2 witnesses on the stand who they could have asked, but chose not to. The night they came to my home to tell me about Dustin, it became pretty clear as they were telling me the story that they did not believe that this was a bear attack. I was asked if I knew of anyone who would want to hurt my brother. My instinct was an absolute no. I desperately tried to think of anyone whom Dustin may have friction with. Even then, I don't believe anyone would ever want to hurt him. I said to them that night that anyone could have come into his camp and Dustin would be friendly and helpful, whatever they needed, and that he would have been able to be taken advantage of. I was told that doesn't happen. This looked like a crime of passion, someone who had a vendetta against my brother. This was incredibly hard to hear. The idea that I may not know at all the person I thought I knew best. I wanted to shut down completely, to go hide in my room, never come out, but the need to help was stronger. I wanted to assist the detectives in any way to help find out what happened, even if it meant learning something upsetting about Dustin. That never happened. The only thing I found out about my brother through the investigation was that he had bought a Yeti cooler and didn't tell me. And I knew why. He had given me such a hard time for ever spending that much money on a cooler. This is all to say that my brother went up to Moose Creek exactly who he was, the person everyone knows him to be. Dustin did not become an entirely different person that night, and neither did Daren Abbey. While sitting in on Abby's bond hearing, I heard prosecutors rattle off a long list of his prior convictions. Historically, Daren Abbey has shown that he has no regard for other people's property or for the persons themselves. Daren went to Moose Creek that night, exactly who he was as well. With intention, he took my brother's life. He stole from him again. He stole from him again the next night. He was capable of returning, spending time in the tent, Dustin's mutilated body, taking more things. Next level disregard for human life. And that sad body lay there alone, loved by so many. And at the trial, we all became witness to the lack of remorse that is had by Abby as we watched a 1 and 30-second video of him dancing triumphantly, buried my brother's possessions. Daren Abbey exuded more joy in that 1 and 30 seconds than I have been able to muster since the coroner knocked on my door on October the 12th, 2024. This is not a person bogged down with sorrow from having taken a life. This looks like someone who is proud of what he has done. Someone who, if given the opportunity, would do it again. I believe he should never be given that chance. I do know that no matter what Judge Ullman decides today, I will suffer far more than Daren Abbey ever will, and somehow I will have to make peace with that.
Ms. Price, was that second statement part of your victim witness statement?
Yes, it was.
Just like to ask you a couple questions, if you don't mind. And I know this isn't what you're here for today, but you did work with the Crime Victims Advocate to fill out some restitution paperwork, is that right?
Correct.
And I believe the amount may have been over $4,000, $4,700 or something like that. You understood that the person you worked with would go and excise the things that were unrelated to the medical visits and stuff that you went to that you were asking for, is that right?
Correct. She was going to itemize, yes.
And you and I talked about that this morning, and what we have agreed with defense counsel and Mr. Abbey is that restitution will be in the amount of $3,800.
Okay.
And are you in agreement with that?
Yes.
And I know this case is nothing about money, but I want to ask you something, because it's something the judge will have to consider in a moment. Even though it's money, do you want the court to order that $3,800?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Why?
Something. I don't know. Some sort of accountability.
Do you understand if the court orders that money, that would probably most likely go into his commissary funds, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So if he gets anything, I can take. I'll have to pay it back before he gets even a little something.
Before he gets his ramen noodles or whatever else.
Right.
Okay. Do you have anything else to say to the court? You know, at trial when you testified, there's all sorts of restrictions. This is really your time to say maybe you already have too, but to say anything to the court you would like.
I think I could sit up here all day.
Okay.
I'm good.
Well, thank you for your words, and I don't think the defense has any questions.
No questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'll just finish with letting the court know that we do have a stipulation of $3,800 for restitution. The defense may object on ability to pay, but that's been a stipulated amount. And then also, and I don't know if this needs to be said, Your Honor, but I'd like to say it anyways, I would just ask the court to, in purposes of sentencing today, to take judicial notice of all the testimony at trial that was presented. And we don't have any further witnesses at this point.
All right, so the court will take judicial notice of the testimony at trial. And so any witnesses for the defense?
Your Honor, we have 2 witnesses to call.
Okay.
The first would be Billy Maxfield.
All right. So, sir, if you just come up to the podium here and raise your right hand, and the clerk will give you an oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state and spell your name when you get to the witness.
William Lee Maxfield, William Maxfield.
And do you go by Billy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Billy, how do you know Daren Abbey?
I met Daren Abbey about 5 years ago in the union on a construction site.
Okay. And do you have, knowing that we're here for sentencing today, do you have a statement that you'd like to give regarding Daren?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I've known Daren for 5 years. She's been one of my closest friends. Everybody's saying about Daren's personality. He has helped me personally the most out of all. I became a volunteer firefighter because of Daren. I'm a wildland firefighter because of Daren. I do a lot of community service because of Daren. Daren came to my house to help me when my girlfriend got pregnant to build our house when I couldn't do it when I cut my finger off. So, seeing that Daren's having this on us is heartbreaking for my family because he has been there from day one since I met him. And I can't think of anything what I could say that could change that, but he will be missed in our house, and he will be remembered for who he is in our house.
Obviously, there was a lot in the media about Daren, about his history, about his beliefs, and about what happened. Do those paint an accurate reflection of what you know of Daren?
No. Daren had a bad past, but as a lot of people have bad past, but Daren has, in the last 5 years with me, have built a community of trust with our whole community. He's helped our community when it froze, our town froze, and the water busted gates. Me and him were out there digging out the lines for the whole town. So what I know of Daren and everybody's saying about Daren is two different people.
And Billy, do you have anything else that you'd like to tell the court?
Just in my heart, I know that Daren wouldn't lie to me, and I know that Daren defended his life for everything he could, and I trust him on that.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
All right. Any questions?
No questions.
All right. Thanks, sir. Next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. We would call Tim Dolan.
All right. All right, so sir, if you just raise your right hand, and the clerk will give to you an oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your name when you get to the witness.
Tim Dolan, Timdolan.
Okay, and Mr. Dolan, were you selected to be on the jury panel in this case?
Yes, I was. Quite a shock.
And then you were excused pretty quickly when it came to light that you knew Daren, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so how do you know Daren?
We met, it's been 7 years ago. I'm a painting contractor these days, and so he and his brother gave me a call and interviewed for work. Came over from Butte, and so I checked them out and decided, to test them out on a job, see how they do. But I really did need him. I had a big job up in Yellowstone Club, and not enough crew to really move it forward. So I was really glad to have two strong hands.
Okay, and so you must have hired him and his brother, is that correct?
Yeah, subcontractors, yeah, because they had their own business and everything, so I hired them on.
And what kind of work did they do?
Painting, yeah, painting primarily. That's, we were working inside, and then they worked for me doing exteriors and staining and you name it.
Did you find Daren to be reliable?
Yep, Daren was reliable, both he and his brother. But then this past year, Daren was able to come back around and help out again. Had a big project in Big Sky, so he joined in again. So he does what he says he's going to do, and puts his heart into the work. And he's honest and straight up with me. He's always been respectful, and someone that I could rely on.
Did you ever have any issues with Daren?
No, not really. I mean, there was a few mornings where he was late coming to work, but other than that, it was no problems whatsoever.
And I've kind of led you into this, but do you have anything, obviously we're here for sentencing today, do you have anything that you would like to tell the court just from your experience and your knowledge of Daren?
What I've experienced of Daren has been pretty much a regular Montana guy, kind of rough around the edges, cowboy, but reliable, hardworking. He was always a friend to me, always told me the truth, and really, and he had his dog that he cared for and loved. I saw him with his tenderness toward the animal and other animals, and he just seemed, that's been my experience. A solid guy, somebody I could rely on.
And so, obviously, this case happened. It was in the media. A lot has been said about Daren, his actions up while he was camping. Did that surprise you to learn and to hear about Daren compared to what you know of him?
Oh, yeah, it was a shock. It was a shock, and so I could only imagine that something went on there, something happened. I can only imagine it escalated. So yeah, I was really shocked and sad to hear it happened.
Yeah. Do you have anything else that you'd like to tell the judge?
Well, I can acknowledge the suffering in the room, and that I'm moved by that, by the testimony, and I grieve what has happened. I have training as a minister and also as a mediator, and I've mediated here in the court with the settlement project for years. I've seen people change, and when I was in college, we'd go to the prison and have a Bible study and bring a guitar. Everyone in this room, we're all children of God, and we all have potential, and people can change. We are human beings, and so I just know it's important to make decisions now based on our humanity and not on what's justifiable, but to hurt and anger and rage. So I believe in Daren. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have any further questions.
All right, any questions? Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dolan.
Good afternoon.
Just have a couple questions for you. You were here the first day of trial when there was jury selection, right?
That's correct.
And then how many of the other days did you come?
I was not able to attend.
So you weren't able to attend the trial?
No.
So you have no idea what exhibits were introduced at trial, right?
Pardon?
You don't have any idea what exhibits were introduced at trial, right?
There's a lot of echoes in here, so
Sure.
I have no idea what
Exhibits were introduced at trial?
evidence.
Yes.
No.
And you indicated that perhaps the court should show some leniency today, is that right?
That's correct.
But you would agree that you have no idea what took place in this event because you weren't here for the trial, right?
That's correct.
And you would agree that as a matter of fact, in front of this court, in front of the people behind me to my left, what the jury did was find him guilty of deliberate homicide, right?
Correct.
Without mitigation, right? Without self-defense. And this was proved to the satisfaction of 12 jurors beyond a reasonable doubt. Correct?
Correct. Here in Gallatin County, where it happened.
And so, given the fact that it is a fact that he brutally murdered Dustin, you believe there should be accountability for that, right?
So what are you saying?
Given that it's a fact that he brutally murdered Dustin.
Objection, Your Honor. This is
overruled.
Given that it's a fact that he brutally murdered Dustin, you believe he should be held accountable to that, right?
Yes, he was convicted of the murder, and he should be held accountable, yes.
And you would agree that the court should sentence Dustin in accordance with Montana law, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
All right. Any follow-up?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right. Anybody else?
No further witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay. State's recommendation?
If I may, Judge, would I be able to make use of the lectern just briefly?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Judge, I just want to begin by thanking the court and all of the court's staff for their attention and patience throughout the proceedings in this matter. They've been extensive, and the court, I think, has been very fair and patient with both sides. So on behalf of everyone on our side, thank you very much for that. I have no doubt that the court is well apprised in this matter, and in fact, were I simply to sit and say nothing, I think the court would have everything it needed to fashion a just sentence and would indeed do so. But I do feel like I would be delinquent in my duties as an officer to the court if I did not at least offer the state's perspective on justice. I feel like it is a unique perspective. In my preparations for this hearing, I could find no other case which appeared to me as having had such a large impact on the public's sense of safety as this one did. To think that one could be killed in such a brutal and violent manner for doing nothing else but venturing out into our wilderness heritage. It's something that we all get to do. Everybody in this room gets to use it. If you're rich or poor, or from out of state, or from in-state, and it's the backdrop for our most prized memories. And Dustin was doing just that. The evidence showed he was aware that others would be doing the same as he was that weekend, and he was anxious to ensure that he staked his tent in an exceptional spot. And he may have even had that one in mind. Dustin was a hardworking, kind man. The court's heard a lot about who he was as a person, and despite his difficult upbringing, he was devoted to his friends and family. And so he did what you or I or any Montanan can do. He packed and departed so as to arrive sooner than others looking to camp that weekend. It's something I've done when I go camping, and he hit the mark. His spot, as the court saw in the exhibits at trial, was as beautiful and tranquil as anywhere that I've ever camped. I bet he was pumped to get that spot. I definitely would have been pumped to get that spot. But he didn't find a serene, secluded camping spot. He found the worst possible place to run into Daren Abbey. He was far away from help. He had no cell service. And I don't think there's anything about that would have indicated to him that there was anything dangerous about what he was about to do. From his perspective, he was going camping for the weekend. He had made meticulous plans to do that. And so how are any of us supposed to know now? That is precisely the impact this case has had on the sense of public safety. Montanans will remember this case when they venture out into their wilderness heritage, and they will have no say in the new anxiety and fear they will have, wondering if they are exposing themselves to the same fate as Dustin. Montanans by now will know that this horrible night began with the victim welcoming the defendant into his camp. And with that, they will be more anxious, more guarded, more suspicious of others. And so that goes to the very heart of the public's sense of safety, Your Honor. As for the actual safety of the public, the defendant's criminal history, notwithstanding the instant offenses, is extensive and violent. He has been convicted of aggravated assault on police officer, prison, misdemeanor battery on police officer, jail, felony malicious harassment, prison. He has a felony DUI conviction and the misdemeanors to go with it, a reprehensible history on supervision. The court's heard about the last 5 years with Daren Abbey. There's 3 pages in the pre-sentence investigation that outlines Department of Corrections efforts to supervise Mr. Abbey. The defendant ambushed a hardworking son of Bozeman, Montana, for no better reason than being caught in the act of palming a pistol. Why? Because he got caught. The defendant got the drop on Dustin, who never had a chance to defend himself, brutally attacked him with an axe, and then he took all of his nice things. Why? Because they were nice. And then he went back to work. And over a lunch break on one of his job sites, he posed with Dustin's nice things, his guns, his binoculars, all of it cold. We are asking the court to sentence Daren Abbey to spend the rest of his life in prison. This court should impose a parole restriction that ensures that he has no hope of ever getting out of prison. It is necessary for public safety, for the public's sense of safety, and to punish the defendant commensurate with the nature and degree of harm that he's done. Judge, the statute for that restriction is 46-18-202. I'm sure the court's well aware of it. It's subsection 2, but it just basically talks about in any situation where the court is going to impose a parole restriction that the judge should state the reasons for it in writing. We think that to protect public safety and the public sense of safety, as well as to punish the defendant commensurate with the nature and degree of harm that he's done, that would comport with 46-18-202 sub 2, Your Honor. And so those are my comments for the court. We believe that's a just resolution.
All right. And what do you have for credit for time served?
Judge, I believe In the figure in the PSI is correct?
I think that's from the last sentencing date, though.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Does anybody have an update? You have one?
Yes, Your Honor. So we would note for the credit for time served, he was arrested October 25th. The October 31st date is when he was transferred from Butte to Gallatin County, but he was in custody for 6 days prior to that. And then from October 25th until February 3rd today is 466 days.
All right, thanks.
No objection.
All right.
That's all I have. Thank you,
All
Judge.
right, thank you. All right, so defense?
Your Honor, today I'll start with the pre-sentence investigation. The only further note that defense counsel has for the PSI is we had asked that you make a finding under condition 9 that Mr. Abbey has an inability to pay. He has been incarcerated for 466 days. He has qualified for the public defender's office, which has been his representation through the duration of this offense, and both parties are asking for a significant amount of prison time. We would make that we would ask that there's an exception for 9C, which is the restitution amount. However, if the court imposes a parole restriction, we would ask that you make a finding as to 9C, that there be an inability to pay.
Can he pay through a prison job or whatnot?
Your Honor, he'll likely be high max for a significant period of time. His ability to work is unknown until he progresses further through the prison. At this point, we're unable to even know what facility he'll be in and what the working ability is for, given what his charges are.
Okay.
Your Honor, defense today is requesting that you sentence Daren Abbey to, on count 1, deliberate homicide, 50 years, with a consecutive 5 years for count 2 and count 3 for a net of 60 years to the Montana State Prison. This is outlined in defense's sentencing memorandum, which was pretty extensive, so I won't belabor much of what has already been provided to the court. But we do believe that this sentence recognizes the serious nature of this offense, contemplates mitigating circumstances in Daren's life, the circumstances of the offense, and is commensurate with other like sentences, which is required under Montana Code annotated. The court heard a significant amount of the facts of this case throughout both the trial, pretrial motions, and in the state's argument, so I won't go back into that. Your Honor, one thing I do want to note is the state noted that they didn't believe that there'd ever been a case that had an impact on the sense of public safety. I'll draw your attention to 2 specific cases in in defense's sentencing memorandum. When addressing the sense of public safety specifically, I'd ask you to take a look at the State versus Thomas Slavera, which is a Yellowstone County homicide. Your Honor, Mr. Slavera was on parole. He walked up to a car, pulled an individual out of the car, shot and killed him, and then fled into a house where a birthday party was occurring for multiple children. He ended up shooting 2 men, attempting to kill them, as the 2 men were preventing him from accessing the room where the children were celebrating the birthday party. Judge Harris in Yellowstone County initially sentenced Mr. Slavera to a net sentence of 145 years with a 45-year parole restriction. We would note that even with a deliberate homicide and 2 counts of attempted, that is less than a life sentence without parole. The Sentence Review Division made the determination that that sentence was clearly excessive and dropped the parole restriction. We believe that that case is distinguishable and significantly more severe than the case here at hand. We would also note that in State versus Shane Roberts, again in Yellowstone County, Shane Roberts received 85 years for 1 count of deliberate homicide, where he stabbed his girlfriend an undetermined amount of times with up to 4 different weapons and then attempted to behead her. He kept her in a bathtub after killing her in the bathtub for an undetermined amount of time, but at minimum 9 days. And then she was only found because he hauled her to the porch in August and left her there for the neighbors to find. Mr. Roberts received 85 years, which again, the severity of that offense, the brutalization with the domestic aspect, certainly more significant than Mr. Abbey here today. 60 years is a significant amount of time, Your Honor. His first opportunity for parole would put him at almost 60 years old, at which rate his rate of recidivism is significantly lower, and that's only if he had the opportunity for parole at that first chance. However, we do believe that regardless of what the court sentences Mr. Abbey to today, he should be granted the chance for the possibility for parole. We would note that parole is not given, but it's a liberty granted to Mr. Abbey, and we would ask that that liberty be provided. A sentence without parole, Your Honor, allows for no chance of rehabilitation. It gives no incentive to engage in treatment or to behave while he's an inmate. The state's requesting restitution. A sentence with no parole gives virtually no incentive to try to make the victim's family financially whole. Mr. Abbey is not contesting the restitution owed, and a sentence of 60 years allows him to at some point possibly re-enter a workforce where he has multiple trades, multiple skills. He was a journeyman carpenter, and he could make the family whole financially. While the facts of this case are incredibly aggravating, and Daren does have a criminal history, we've outlined multiple mitigating factors in this case, and the court is required under Montana law to take both aggravating and mitigating factors into account. We believe that there is mitigating circumstances prevalent enough that the liberty of the possibility of parole must be granted. We noted that he has some mental health concerns. He has multiple adverse childhood experiences. He's well educated and has the ability to work and contribute to society, and he's experienced some health concerns while incarcerated that are certainly a mitigating factor as well. Your Honor, I've outlined those more in detail in defense's sentencing memorandum on page 12 and 13. So, Your Honor, we do believe that a net of 60 years to the Montana State Prison is commensurate with statewide sentences. The average in Gallatin County, according to Conweb, is 79 years for deliberate homicides. We believe, given Mr. Abbey's maintained self-defense claim at this point, that the 60 years is sufficient. We believe it takes into account the nature and the aggravating facts of this offense and the loss that Dustin's family has endured, as well as the mitigating circumstances surrounding Mr. Abbey and his life, starting from a very young age where his first adverse childhood experience was being abandoned by one of his parents. We do believe that 60 years is an appropriate sentence at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Abbey, was there anything you want to say?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you just stand up when you speak, please.
I would like to start out by saying how unfortunate that this all happened. And I wish none of it did. I wish I never met Dustin and that I found a different camping spot that evening. I would have been fine with me and my husky puppy as I was the previous nights camping nearby, as I have always camped out while working on projects in the past years. Never having any issues before. I was a happy, self-employed contractor, owner of Norse Carpentry and Painting. I recently bought some property with a house to remodel on Basin Creek. I was also building a small cabin for myself. I spent the summer building several custom homes near Troy, and I've been a contractor for 10 years in northwest Montana, mainly in the Kalispell area. I had plenty of money in the bank and about to get off probation from a DUI from 5 years ago. My life was great, and I had no reason or purpose to commit a random act towards anyone violent or want to fight anyone. Why would I? Everything was going good for me. I had several projects I bid as a contractor. I was subcontracting at the time for a good friend and local contractor, a deck replacement project in Big Sky. I painted their house a few years ago, and the owners were prior clients. I was working on the deck project around the time when all this happened. I did not know Dustin. When I first encountered him, he approached me when I drove up and was turning around. He seemed like a likable guy. I wish this never happened. I asked the family and friends of Dustin to understand what really happened. I never intended any of this to happen, but it did. I'm sorry for your loss of him. I just hope you find it in your hearts to forgive me, if not today, but in time. It was a tragedy, and I feel bad about, and I'm truly sorry for him, his family, and friends. I asked the court to take everything into account. I asked for you to see the truth. I ask for your leniency in this matter.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm going to gather my thoughts here and we'll just take a quick recess and then we'll come back and proceed. You may be seated. Does the state of a sentencing order?
Judge, we sent a sentencing order to...
Oh, okay. I was told you guys were going to print one out, but...
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
That's okay.
We can make that happen if, but, okay.
Sorry, we'll get it going. All right, so the court considers the sentencing guidelines of the state of Montana when it sentences individuals, and that includes punishment commensurate with the nature and degree of harm caused, incarcerating violent and repeat felony offenders, providing restitution to victims, and providing rehabilitation to defendants. And so Mr. Abbey comes before the court here today. He is 42 years of age. He's been convicted of a deliberate homicide and then 2 offenses of tampering with or fabricating physical evidence, all felonies. The court notes that he does have a fairly substantial criminal history. As the state pointed out, he has multiple felonies. He's been to prison at least twice for he had an aggravated assault on a officer from Arizona in 2009. He had a malicious felony harassment from 2011 in Idaho. Both of those sentences resulted in prison sentences. And then it looked like he had a rearrest revoke in California for a probation violation. And so the court considers all that as it fashions the sentence here today for these really serious offenses. So Mr. Maxfield came down and testified here today. And while a lot of people might be a little off-put by his testimony, Mr. Maxfield, I actually appreciate, I don't know if he's in the courtroom here today, but there he is. I appreciate the fact that you still support Mr. Abbey and that you see the good in him. And so it's good to have people that are on your side. And so I don't hold that against you or anything like that. But with respect to the sentence that I'm going to impose, it's going to be quite different than what you recommended. And then, so that's the way it is with those kind of things. Mr. Abbey, I agree with you that, I'm sure you wish that you never met Mr. Kjersem for Dustin. And, but here we are today dealing with the facts in front of the court. So the court received the pre-sentence investigation report as noted, and there was a large volume of letters expressing love, admiration, and a deep sense of loss from Mr. Kjersem's death, his sister Jillian, his daughter Adalyn. It seems that he had multiple best friends. I was trying to figure out who his best friend was so I could recognize that when I was doing my reasons, but many people said that they were his best friends. And I was kind of thinking here today, if you could see the amount of support that he has in the community, I'm sure he would be struck, because from what I can gather from him is he seemed to be a relatively humble guy. And so I think just seeing how many people are here who love him, and he was such a large part of their lives. I don't know if people recognize how large a part of people's lives they are when they're living their lives. And it sounds like he was just a great dad, great brother, friend to many. And then I was reading about how he kind of stepped in and took care of, I guess it would have been Adalyn's half brother, as that family kind of developed. So I'm going to go through a few things here that I thought about as I was trying to figure out what to do here today. And if anybody thinks this is easy, you're dead wrong, okay? I mean, a lot of people think that, we just throw away the book and that's it for Mr. Abbey, but these are things that I had to really weigh and think about. So Mr. Abbey is 42 years of age, and that weighs heavily in the sentence that the court is going to impose, because that means that he was not a young man when he committed this murder. His brain was fully developed. He was not prone to greater impulsivity as young people are, and particularly as young men can be. He committed this crime as an adult. He was the individual who killed Dustin, and he utilized multiple weapons when he killed Dustin. He had multiple opportunities to stop what he was doing, but he did not do so. It is his conduct, and his conduct alone, that results in the sentence. He is responsible for the sentence, not Dustin, not the victims, not the prosecution, not the jury, not the court. It's just, unfortunately, Mr. Abbey's responsibility. And, I've seen people go through life kind of developing narratives in their head to deal with the situations where they find themselves in. And who knows, maybe Mr. Abbey has convinced himself that this was self-defense, and people's memories can do strange things. And oftentimes people convince themselves of false narratives as a way to excuse or protect themselves from accepting what they've actually done. This is basically a self-defense mechanism. However, whatever may be the case, the facts of this case demonstrate it was not self-defense. It was a senseless, brutal murder. The photos of the entrance to the campsite, I think this is kind of one of the things that Mr. Nesbitt was touching on, is that this was just such a random offense. We all go camping, I think. Most of us go camping in the woods in Montana, on the rivers, whatnot, and we're there to have a good time. And there was a picture from the entrance to the campground, and it just made me wonder why Mr. Abbey would have driven all the way down this road to visit with Mr. Kjersem. I don't know that we'll ever know, but Mr. Osborne testified, and he provided some explanation as to why this happened. And I mean, who knows? I guess that's a question that only Mr. Abbey really knows, because Dustin's no longer with us. I've struggled with this parole issue. I mean, some of you might wonder why, but I have struggled with it. I mean, in one vein, you want to give people a chance. But then in the other, looking at Mr. Abbey's conduct in this case, layered on top of his other criminal conduct, there's a really very real concern that he poses an extremely serious threat to the public. Now, the first element of the Stetson guidelines that I mentioned was the nature and degree of harm caused. And a lot of times I sentence somebody this morning, I sentence people all the time, and I don't always think about those words as closely as I thought about them in this case. And what I thought about was the nature here of the harm caused. And the nature of the harm caused was really this manner of death. It was multiple blows with an axe to the head. It was other instruments that were used. And then so the nature of that harm is just unique to this case. It's not somebody got a fight down at the bar, somebody put a knife on somebody, or somebody used drugs, or who knows what. There was a very violent, extreme nature of harm in this case. And then, of course, there's the harm caused to his sister, his daughter, her brother, his best friend, his many other friends and families. And I can't really convey with words what that harm consists of. And one of the things I think about when I'm dealing with these cases, luckily we don't have a lot of them, but due to Mr. Abbey's actions, Dustin's daughter, his good friends, his sister, all those other folks that would have wanted to never had a chance to say goodbye. With respect to the claim of self-defense, obviously the jury rejected that handily, but as I noted, there were multiple blows with 3 different weapons. I'm not sure why the court did or why the state didn't seek a weapons enhancement, but that's obviously prosecutorial discretion. And thinking more about the self-defense claim, if Dustin was as drunk as Mr. Abbey said he was, then why would he have needed so many weapons? Why would Mr. Abbey have needed so many weapons to defend himself? Moreover, it's just so Mr. Maxfield and Mr. Dolan, you guys weren't here during the trial, but the autopsy pictures were really brutal. In my prior position, I handled a number of homicides, and no autopsy pictures are very palatable, but these were very difficult to take in. And so what the evidence demonstrated that there was this, I'm sorry to go through this again, but I have to state my reasons for sentence. There was a strike to the front of the face, a strike to the left temple, and an injury to the left ear. And when I initially heard about this case, I was actually involved in a number of the search warrants that were made, that were proposed in this. It was talking about chop. And so I thought, as those of us who have gone camping, you bring your hatchet and you've got a hatchet, right? And so I thought there was chopping injuries. And so it's not a hatchet, it was an axe. And similarly, we're here in Montana. I've chopped a lot of wood. I'm sure a lot of you have chopped a lot of wood. In order to swing an axe, it's not this. It's a full over the head, take the weight, let it drop, swing. And that didn't just happen once. It didn't just happen twice. It happened 3 times. And there is an opportunity with each of those to stop. Mr. Abbey didn't do that. Furthermore, there was testimony from a state's witness, and I quoted it here because I quoted it in my notes during the trial, that there was possible blood on the block could come from someone being struck while on the ground. And so further, and I think this is why the jury came to where, one of the many reasons why the jury concluded what they did, is that Dustin was down. He was out. He wasn't a threat anymore. And so this could have stopped. There could have been an opportunity for him to not die. Moreover, another quote that I put was the injuries were not immediately fatal. Not immediately fatal. What did Mr. Abbey do? Did he do anything to help Mr. Person? No, he looked out for himself because he covered his tracks. By the defendant's own admission, even if you take everything he claims as face value, what he did was hit Dustin in the head with a block of wood a few times. Then after that, when Dustin was obviously incapacitated, he did not try to stop the bleeding. He didn't throw him in his truck and drive him to the ER in Big Sky. He didn't get help from any other campers. He didn't drive down to get cell reception. He didn't go to the 911, the call box that he said he knew about at the end of Moose Creek. Instead, he focused on himself and left Mr. Kjersem to die. Now, the court notes that Mr. Abbey did help law enforcement find the guns and other evidence of the crime. And while most people who commit violent offenses are not always a threat, Mr. Abbey clearly has moments where he can be incredibly dangerous. Whether you look at this as a self-defense of what he was convicted of, it was a heinous act. And I made a note during the trial about considerations with respect to parole. And one of the notes that I made was after we saw the video of Mr. Abbey dancing. And that video demonstrated that it didn't seem like he was much bothered by what he had done. Because the video, well, people don't dance when they're depressed. They don't dance when they feel bad. People dance when they are happy. They dance when they are enjoying themselves. So Mr. Abbey, even though he had just killed someone with an axe and then stuck a screwdriver in their neck, was still feeling so good that he had no problem breaking into an impromptu dance for his friends. What that demonstrated to the court is that he could do this again. Now, the court does recognize that Mr. Abbey is always polite in court, and he has not had issues in the detention center. I'm hoping that good contact will continue when he's at prison. Another issue that was an aggravating factor is that Mr. Abbey was actually on felony probation at the time, and he was clearly violating it. One, he was drinking alcohol, and he was on probation for a felony DUI. Two, he was in possession of firearms. In fact, if you listen to what Mr. Osborne said, he stole the guns from Mr. Person, and that was one of the reasons why this whole thing happened. So those are certainly aggravating factors. And he demonstrates that he cannot comply with the conditions of his release, since he was not complying with his probation rules, and as the court noted, he had a revocation from previous felony. But just so you know, it doesn't give me any pleasure to give this kind of sentence. One life is wasted, another is lost. It's a lose-lose situation. As I noted, a sister has lost her brother, a daughter has lost her father, innumerable friends have lost their very good friend, and the list goes on. And none of them have ever had a chance to say goodbye. With respect to commensurate sentencing, the court recalls the case here in Gallatin County of State versus Christopher Wagner. In that case, in this jurisdiction, for the offense of attempted deliberate homicide, the defendant received a sentence of 60 years to the Montana State Prison with no opportunity for parole. So if an attempted deliberate homicide can warrant a 60-year parole restriction, then certainly a deliberate homicide, the criminal history that we see here today, the aggravating factors would similarly warrant a very long parole restriction. And so under 46-18-202 sub 2, the court references the facts that is reviewed at this, as it states its reasons for judgment for the parole restriction that it will be imposing here today. So, with that, is there any reason why a sentence should now be imposed?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Abbey, you can stand up and you can say whatever you want to do. So, for the offense of deliberate homicide, a felony, the defendant is committed to the Montana State Prison for a period of 100 years. For the offense of tampering with or fabricating physical evidence, the defendant is committed to the Montana State Prison for a period of 10 years. For count 3, tampering with or fabricating physical evidence, the defendant is committed to the Montana State Prison for a period of 10 years. Sentences under counts 1, 2, and 3 shall be served concurrently. The court imposes a parole restriction in the amount of 80 years. The court waives the administrative fee, victim witness fee, and user surcharge. The court waives assigned counsel fee. The court finds that Mr. Abbey will have an opportunity to pay this off over the time that he's in prison. And so the court will order that he pay restitution in the amount of $5,110.71 as outlined in Exhibit A, which I don't have, so I'm going to need that, okay? And then pay restitution fee of 10%, which is $511. That would be paid through the Department of Corrections. And then the defendant will receive credit for 466 days previously served. And so anything else from the state?
You have a moment, Your Honor?
What's that?
You have one moment?
Sure.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, anything else from the defense?
Your Honor, did you order the specific $3,800 in restitution?
I just ordered what was actually, somebody had written this in already. Do we have a different amount?
Your Honor, we do have a different amount.
All right, you're right. I just took all this in here. So can you tell me what that is?
The state defense agreed to $3,800.
All right, $3,800 and the restitution fee of 10%. Thank you for that clarification. Anything else?
No, Your Honor, that is it.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Abbey, we'll get you a copy of this, and then that's where we're at. So,
I'll be appealing your crooked ass court system.
all right. That's fine. You can do that. All right. So that just demonstrates where we're at here today. So, all right. Everybody else, court's adjourned. So,
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yep.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.